When it comes to marketing open source products, community is everything and communication is everything. And unlike marketing proprietary products, it's not just about getting the word out or putting like marketing dollars behind in a campaign. It's about connecting with community. It's about building trust and fostering collaboration. We need to foster the sense of belonging and keep this open source spirit alive.
You are listening to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, the product marketing community that gives back. I'm your host, Louise Liu. Product Marketing Hive and this podcast are supported by Product Marketing Edge, a technology product marketing consulting firm. In this episode, Aleksandra Mitroshkina, Director of Product Marketing at Percona, shares her experience of managing open source products go-to-market. Let's dive into it right now. Hi, Aleksandra. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Louise. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. I'm very excited about our topic today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very exciting topic, and it's something that's been around for ages, but with the new technologies, it's getting more exciting to do marketing for open source products.
So before we dive into our topic today, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into product marketing?
Sure. So I'm a public relations and advertising manager by education, but I never worked as PR manager in my career. My first serious job was marketing assistant in a big international company. It's what it was called Japan Tobacco International. So I was working there for a few years, and after a few years, I moved to expand my experience in software companies, in advertising technology, health IT, and eventually I started working for Linux and open source database companies. And since my career started, I've been in marketing for 8 years now. And I have experience before marketing, both in sales, product development, and marketing. For the last 5 years, I've been solely focusing on product marketing and perfecting the skill. A year ago, I became like a director, and I'm still learning every day to be a product marketing leader. And to answer the question, how did I get into product marketing? In my product manager career, I realized that I started missing the front-facing creative component of the go-to-market, and I made a conscious pivot to product marketing. And I was lucky to land a job at Cloud Linux. They let me do everything from lead generation to events and product marketing as well. There I realized that that's where I need to go, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And in my free time, I am a swimmer, a piano player, and I enjoy the company of my husband.
That's great. Glad to hear your product marketing journey. Sasha, currently you are the director of product marketing at Percona. Tell us a little bit more about the role and the responsibilities.
Absolutely, Louise. So my current role is director of solutions marketing at Percona, and Percona, it's an open source database performance company. I currently have 2 direct reports. Both are senior product marketing managers, and I have more than 20 marketing colleagues I work with cross-functionally. While we do product marketing, my team is not called product marketing team. We actually renamed a year ago to align business and engineering stations from my team. So we are not just launchers of the products. We are also taking care of the services. So we are approaching it as a solution right now. So renaming was also timed deliberately with us introducing solutions packaging. So we actually have like 15 software products and 4 services products. We kind of package them all into 5 different solutions. And to just talk about my regular day, it's filled with research. I usually research some new technology or new feature that the team introduces. And I also do competitive research. And I also work on messaging for new features or like some market trend we're seeing. And we need to enable both product team and sales team to be able to talk confidently about what is happening on the market and use it for deals. I also contribute to the content production as a subject matter expert. And a big chunk of my work is also happening in sales enablement. And it takes a lot of my time because our sales and customer success teams always need enablement materials, collateral, and we are usually scoping, drafting, working on final assets with the marketing peers. So that's a regular day of the team and mine.
Thank you for the context. What are the common misconceptions of open source products that you've run into that people talk about?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Well, the first one is, I believe, is that people think that open source is free. It is free as in freedom, and the software is really like you can download it from the repository and you can use it, but it's not actually free for the organization to use it because you need to have internal expertise, you need to have support, you need to be able to maintain and customize the software that you've downloaded, let's say. And many companies, including the one that I'm working in, build a whole business based on this premise that some organizations will need support, will need expertise to be able to innovate with the open source software. Sometimes when you want to adopt some new software, including open source, talent may not be there yet to be hired, right? But you still need to start working with this new software. So that's where companies like mine can do like consulting for you, hosting, or like enterprise level support. So yeah, it's not free in a way that it's like there is cost of ownership. That's the term that we use. Total cost of ownership is not zero.
That makes sense. That makes sense. What are the unique challenges that you face as a product marketer in your marketing effort, promoting the open source products compared to the proprietary one?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we are not immune to the challenges of the proprietary software. Like, try to monetize a software piece, right? It's very challenging, and in terms of open source software, it's even more challenging because how do you turn your users of open source software into paying customers? How do you do that? It's sometimes you don't even know who's using the software because it's open source. So it's been the biggest challenge to monetize an open source product. And many people expect, again, as I mentioned, that open source software is free. So yeah, it's kind of hard to make money out of it if you just think about it. And companies that go into this open source route, they have to carefully balance keeping the core software free and open while also offering extra services and features that make sense to charge for. So basically find a value fit with the market. And there are a few business models that open source organizations can leverage to kind of find those balance and to keep the open source promise intact, to keep the community happy, and to be profitable. And another one, it kind of stems from the first one, like how to monetize something you don't know even if someone is using this, is lack of visibility into the path from product adoption to revenue. So open source companies, we rarely get access to the software. So you can just go to GitHub and download it and do whatever you want with it. And in my experience, it is a challenge, but it is not an impossible challenge. I have tested usage of in-product messages that encourage users to identify themselves in exchange for some exclusive deals or swag. And I find it still surprisingly that people enjoy receiving swag, they enjoy receiving freebies, and they are willing to share their details for something like a t-shirt. And for me, it is a challenge that can be solved with this small investment.
Very good point. I would love to dive into the specifics. But first, let me ask you, how do you identify and prioritize customer segments for open source products?
So here I would like to propose to think about it as a funnel because it's also applicable to these types of products. So on the top of the funnel, we see open source product. In the middle, we see product differentiation and how product develops. And later stages are on lead generation and sales. And the audience for the top stage for community engagement is going to be early users, adopters. And for the second one, it may be a mix of adopters and those who are already making business decisions. It also depends on which business model or models your organization chooses that will help you prioritize these customer segments. For example, for services model, the marketing team will be typically targeting the technical leadership of the organization, that we will try and build awareness about the offerings that we propose and put out there on the market. And for SaaS and open core models, and I'm going to talk about it in a second, The initial open source users may be the ones who later purchase your enterprise or SaaS versions. So it can be an interesting mix. And if your organization combines different business models, like they have services, they have SaaS, and they have open core, for this, the organization and us as PMMs, we need to work together with community and product management teams to develop a distinct communication strategies for users, for influencers and decision makers, as well as buyers. So we all, as the group, as a group of different departments, will address different parts of the customer's organization.
Makes sense. So I was wondering, to drive the awareness of the open source product, what are the channels or tools or tactics that you have used in the past that can be quite effective?
Absolutely. Amazing question, Louise. So the channels and tactics, again, I'm going back to the funnel concept. On the top of the funnel, we have community management that fuels awareness about the product. They focus on openness, they focus on collaboration, and they kind of inform the audience what makes the product unique from the other open source projects. So, as I said, differentiation still exists here, as well as how it's different from proprietary products. And usually community utilizes events a lot. So they're going to events, both community events and bigger, larger events. Also, partnerships are very important. So for example, if you put together a distribution, it is important that people from around the world can download it. If you put it on the server only in the United States, people from the other part of the world will have trouble downloading it. So it is important to have as many partners to adopt your distribution or whatever software that you're having. Another thing that community does is thought leadership. It's a big, big part of the community work. Sometimes we even set up a partnership with Cloud Native Foundation, Open Source Foundation, all these bodies that kind of control the open source market. And they have programs that allow you to publish articles, set up webinars with them, live streams. So in order for your project to be widely spread. Influencers, also another way to build awareness, to work with influencers, working with joint campaigns. And I want to point out that technical evangelists are crucial to the success of this community management stage. On the consideration stage of the funnel, it is the role of the product management that is vital. And product management teams make sure the product is stable, that new features are introduced. They cover more use cases, as I mentioned, like enterprise use cases or some industry use case. And this stage of the funnel makes users, kind of converts them into evangelists of your open source product. So it kind of fosters this evangelism. Product teams can utilize thought leadership tactics and events like hackathons and such. And a good option for the product team in this consideration stage is blogging. And I want to give you an example here. So Percona, when the company started in 2006, and to this day, have been very, very active in the blog. In fact, when it started, it was just a blog. So the company was a consultancy for one database technology. And the founders, they started a blog where they were like doing these articles that are super in depth, like how to optimize your MySQL. It has been first source of the traffic to our website. This is how our customers find our solutions, and this is how our users also find our software. So it's very important to keep blogging, keep put out blogs and contribute. And in our organization, actually, anyone, marketers, engineers, product managers, community members can contribute to the blog. And that's how it's growing. And another thing we have been doing is before COVID, actually, we organized annual event. It was called Percona Live. It was very successful for product awareness, for brand awareness. At some point, even Steve Wozniak was the keynote speaker. So that's kind of says a lot about the scale of the event. And during and after the COVID, we kind of pivoted to smaller events that are local. And it also is very successful because people want to see each other. They want to understand that they're part of the community. And yeah, it's been great. And on the lead generation stage, the final one, it's where product marketing works closely with content, growth marketing, and pre-sales and sales organization to build awareness about the paid components of the organization's business model. And at Percona, where I work, we build campaigns together with the rest of the marketing team and sales team as well. And usually our deliverables include positioning, messaging, technical content, demos, and everything. And basically everything you do for a commercial product. But in this case, you make like a distinct connection between your open source software and your business model. So it's not just, like adopt our software. You need to have this line of like, what's the next step? Like, how do you pay us money? So that's that's the goal. And we also, in this process, we act as project managers. We drive go-to-market strategy for the products. We put the team together, we aligned the team, and make it happen.
Let's talk about the monetization strategy. Earlier, you were mentioning there's a few good business models that open source companies are using. Can we dive into some of the specifics? What is the best way, in your opinion, that an open source company can stay open source and not hurting the business sustainability?
Of course, I love the question. And that was the question I started with when I joined Percona, because it was a bit strange for me that this path from open source adoption to conversion wasn't that pronounced. And so what I learned first is that open source software is free and accessible. So my question was like, why can't organizations just download and use it for free and don't pay us anything? So the total cost of ownership was one part of the answer. The other part of the answer was that open source in itself, it is not a business model. Millions of downloads of your open source project will not pay the bills. And while they can, in some cases, be converted into paying customers, doing so profitably requires a solid business model. Currently, I know 3 main open source business models. And to your question, which is the best, is for me, the best is balance between all of them, because that's how you differentiate your risks. That's how you keep your organization afloat if you have to do something with your licenses, right? If someone forks your project, you still will need some streams of income. So there are 3, as I said, business models. First one is support and services. When you have your open source software, you can also, how you can monetize, you can provide consulting, support, managed services, things like that to the organizations that need it. And usually organizations need it. And to come back to one of the first questions about total cost of ownership, there's also a legal requirement when you adopt open source software. You need to have a contract with either software provider who you buy this from if you buy proprietary software, or if you're going open source, you need support contract. Because in some cases, like when you do compliance audit, it can be very damaging for your business and you can fail to meet the requirements. So the business model that is hard to scale, but some organizations like Red Hat, which was one of the pioneers of this method, have been very successful. And for example, companies that use such business model is Percona, where I work, Red Hat, Canonical, Enterprise DB, and many, many others. There are many support and services providers. And the second model is enterprise distribution model, or it's sometimes also called open core. It's when you have the open source version of the product, but you also have proprietary software on top of it, or an extension that adds additional functionality, enterprise kind of functionality. You still keep your promise to the community that you'll stay open source, but you provide an audience that have needs of enterprise companies something else, and usually they are happy to pay for a good product. And the third one is software as a service. And here the underlying software can be still open source. So you're not breaking any promises. You're still open source. And hosting and resources is what people are paying for. So you can host any open source software and make it like cloud. And that's what people will be paying for. It's proven to be very, very successful in recent years, and it will continue growing because of the low threshold of entry. Like you can even put your credit card and start using the SaaS product. So it's been very successful for Amazon, for Google, for MongoDB, and other companies like this. And so as I mentioned, when an organization chooses which open source business model to use, I would say that the mix of all of them is what makes the organization successful. And in my company, as I mentioned, we were like only MySQL specialized, but we're now a multi-database software and services business, and we are balancing between the services and software-led models. Like we have support, we have managed services, consulting, and for software we have open source software and enterprise distributions. And our SaaS offering is currently in active development, and it's planned for 2025.
And what are the biggest challenge when you are driving the adoption for open source products?
Yeah, so product adoption of an open source product, I think, is very, very connected with the other two pillars of the successful open source company. Is the first pillar is thriving community. The other one is product adoption and the value feed that I mentioned already. And the challenges that we see in these unique adoption paths are connected with these three pillars. The first pillar is community, and here the challenge is in building and maintaining this thriving community. And it's very challenging because there are so many open source projects. And as with proprietary product as well, you need to be differentiated, and you need to find a group of people that will rally around your product, but also values as well. So open source communities, they run on passion, and keeping passion that's always going is kind of challenging as well. And another kind of what adds to this challenge is that you as an organization need to manage a group of people from different parts of the world, and you need to moderate, you need to solve conflicts, and need to set the rules for working together. So it's kind of like another company within company is your community. And without strong leadership, community leadership in your organization, and the plan to keep people engaged and always contributing to the project could kind of slow down or split into different directions. And so community is very crucial for adoption. And on the product side, the challenge is in scaling this product adoption. So you can launch a great product that would you can find a niche, launch a product for this niche and solve their problem. But how do you scale it? Because your project might attract early users, but moving from a small group, it's usually a challenge, right? And so moving from a small group of users to mainstream adoption, it takes more than just having a good enough product. There are issues of raising awareness about your project. There is constant competition with proprietary solutions that can actually create like fear, uncertainty, and doubt around your business because they have more budgets, they have more influence, right? And sometimes you even need to convince your customers or future customers that the software that you're putting together is reliable and it is secure. You can use it in enterprise setting. So that's another thing. So to reach a wider audience for the product, you often need good documentation. You need easy to use interfaces. You need features that big companies also will need, not only smaller like users, but also larger companies. And all of this can take a lot of time and resources without bringing quick profits. So you need to be patient and you need to invest in your product. And another one, the last one I want to point out, the challenge of open source product adoption is managing reputational risks from things like licensing changes. So for example, you started as an open source project. At some point you've grown and you would like to protect your property, right? You don't want to put the features out there so that your competitors who have more budget take your code and build something out of it and sell it for profit. So in such cases, which are happening more often recently, it can be very, very damaging to your image if you first were an open source product and then you decide to change something and become introduce a more restrictive license. So another thing that community can do when something like this happens, they can, lose trust in you. They can also start forking. What is forking? Like fork that you eat with. It's when community is creating a separate version of the project and they're building a new community around it. So recent example is Redis, key database company. They have changed their license from open source to a more restrictive one. And that's how Project Valky emerged. And now it's gaining more and more traction, more momentum. So it's very important for the company to keep the balance of business needs and keep the community happy. So it's not like backfiring and causing damage to the company's reputation. So yeah, that's a few.
So I was wondering if you can share an example, a story of go-to-market strategy or campaign that worked really well.
Of course. So I will talk about a few of our projects. So the first one is Percona Everest. It's one of the recent examples of a successful campaign. It's a cloud-native open source platform for database management, and we launched it in September 2024. And we used a mix of tactics from email marketing, PR, thought leadership, customer campaigns, webinars, featuring early adopters already like on that stage. And also we did a lot of internal enablement. It all helped double product adoption compared to beta launch, and also triple website visits, and generated a couple of millions of our pipeline in the first month. And this all became possible thanks to close collaboration of product marketing with product management, sales, community, and the rest of the marketing team, as well as the discipline and the process that we follow with our go-to-market team, which is my team. And we're currently trying to capture this in a separate, maybe article that I can share with you. On how we do that, but overall it's diligence and responsibility and skill. So yeah, it's been very successful, and we still see results. The other one is a launch of Percona Kubernetes Squad. In the beginning, I mentioned that one of the biggest challenges of the open source company is that you don't know who is using your products. And we wanted to better understand who is using our products, and we wanted to connect this product adoption with revenue growth. And since we are committed to open source values, we cannot just, include tracking into our products or put UTMs or anything like that. So we need to respect the privacy of our users. And we launched a squad program to solve this. So we wanted to link software adoption to our sales pipeline. So what we did, we put the messages into our products saying that if you want to join our Kubernetes squad, for which you will get exclusive content, exclusive deals, as well as you will get a swag, you tell us your corporate email and we will start communicating with you. We didn't promote it deliberately because we wanted to see how it's organically going to get adopted from the product. Since the launch, the program has driven 53% increase in product adoption, and it brought numerous high-value leads from Fortune 100 companies, and also some of them like European electric vehicle companies, so huge brands. And without the paid promotion, as I mentioned, we see like a 13% conversion rate since the launch. And I think B2B tech industry average is 3%. So it's quite exciting and a good result. And these initiatives helped us connect product usage to actual revenue, and it gave us some insights for strategic planning. And the last one, which is dear and close to my heart, is the launch of Alma Linux operating system a few years ago when I was at Cloud Linux. And for context, back then there was a Linux distribution. It's called CentOS. It was one of the most adopted enterprise distributions by companies around the world, and it was discontinued. The support of it was discontinued, and my employer, Cloud Linux, made a fork. So we kind of took a code and kind of repackaged it, and from this, it's like a separate project. So we started building the community around Alma Linux. And I was actually a founding marketing lead for this initiative, and we had an amazing team of product managers and a community manager. We actually had a community lead who is very famous in the open source community, Jack Abudbul. Hi, Jack, if you're listening to this. So back then, we put all the emphasis on partnering with hosting providers, the case that I mentioned to you. So we made it easy to download it from anywhere in the world. And so people were happy with it, and it's proven to be very successful since the launch, which was like almost 0 people. Now it's hundreds of thousands active users to this day. And recently, Alma Linux went for like a developer day in Japan, so they're like super successful. And I still remember the launch day. So we had like a SpaceX like live launch with a countdown, and people like live sharing their experience and contributions to the project. And we even launched a swag store, because like, come on, who doesn't like a t-shirt, right? So it was an amazing experience, and it was amazing and successful because of the team and because of the alignment and because we were all going towards the same goal.
That's great to hear the successful story too. This is really inspiring. Looking back, what is the most important lesson that you've learned? Just one thing when launching the open source product.
So one lesson is that when it comes to marketing open source products, community is everything and communication is everything. And unlike marketing proprietary products, it's not just about getting the word out or putting like marketing dollars behind in a campaign. It's about connecting with community. It's about building trust and fostering collaboration. It can also go like internally in the organization as well, not just externally. So we need to foster the sense of belonging and keep this open source spirit alive. That's one of the things that I would point out. And of course, the balance of the sense of belonging and how to keep the business profitable. Need to keep in mind that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing thoughts with us.
I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, a product marketing community that gives back. Check out our website, productmarketinghive.com, to join our community, meet fellow product marketers, and access free resources. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and give a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. See you next time.